Some footballers are great, some become legends, but only a handful transcend the game itself. Diego Maradona was one of them. A man who carried the hopes of a nation, who turned clubs into champions, who made the impossible seem effortless. His life was football, his story larger than life. A hero, a villain, a genius, a flawed mortal worshipped as a god. But to understand how Maradona became the man who captivated the world, we must go back to where it all began. To the dusty streets of Villa Fiorito, Diego Armando Maradona was born on October 30th, 1960, in one of Argentina's poorest neighborhoods. The fifth of 8 children, he grew up in a tiny home with no running water, no electricity, and barely enough food to eat. Life was a struggle, but in the midst of hardship, Diego found joy in a simple, worn-out football. From the moment he touched a ball, he was different. Football wasn't just a game, it was an escape, a dream, a way out. At just 3 years old, he was already inseparable from his ball, sleeping with it at night, dribbling through the dirt roads by day. His talent was undeniable. By the age of 8, he was discovered by a local scout and invited to join Los Chabulitas, the youth team of Argentina's juniors. It was there that Maradona first made headlines, leading the team to an astonishing 136-game unbeaten streak. Even as a boy, he did things with the ball that no one else could, said Francisco Cornejo, his first coach. I knew he would be special, but none of us could imagine just how special. At just 12 years old, Maradona was already a sensation. During halftime at professional matches, he would entertain the crowd by juggling the ball effortlessly, showcasing the raw magic that would soon captivate the world. He was a showman even then, recalled a journalist who covered his early games. You couldn't take your eyes off him. He made you believe anything was possible. By the time he was 15, Maradona was already playing professionally. His debut for Argentina's juniors came in 1976, just 10 days before his 16th birthday. That day, Argentina witnessed the birth of a star who would soon carry the dreams of an entire nation on his shoulders. But this was only the beginning. The world had yet to see what this boy from Villa Fiorito was truly capable of. By 1981, Maradona had become Argentina's most coveted footballer. He had already dazzled the country with his performances for Argentina's juniors, scoring over 100 goals in 5 seasons. But there was one club that he had always dreamed of playing for. Boca Juniors. I always wanted to play for Boca. That was my dream as a child. Wearing that blue and yellow shirt, hearing the fans in La Bombonera. It was something else, Maradona later recalled. At just 20 years old, Maradona moved to Boca Juniors, one of Argentina's most legendary clubs. In his first season, he led them to a league title, cementing his status as the nation's brightest star. The fans adored him. He played with passion, with fire, with an unmatched hunger to win. But his ambitions stretched beyond Argentina. Europe was calling. In 1982, FC Barcelona paid a world record transfer fee to bring Maradona to Spain. It was supposed to be his grand entrance onto the European stage, the place where he would showcase his brilliance to the world. But the dream quickly turned sour. Maradona showed flashes of genius. But his time in Spain was plagued by injuries, controversy, and conflict. A brutal tackle from Athletic Bilbao's defender Andoni Goicoechea shattered his ankle, nearly ending his career. They tried to destroy me, Maradona said years later. That tackle could have ended my career. But I came back. I always came back. He recovered, but things never improved. Off the pitch, he struggled with fame, with the pressure, with the temptations of the nightlife. On the pitch, tensions boiled over. The breaking point came in the 1984 Copa del Rey final, when Maradona was involved in one of the most infamous brawls in football history. That was the end of his Barcelona journey. The club had had enough. But just when it seemed like Maradona's European dream was collapsing, another city came calling. A city that didn't just want him, they needed him. Naples. A city forgotten by the rest of Italy. A team that had never tasted glory. and a people who saw in Maradona not just a footballer, but a savior. On July 5th, 1984, Diego Maradona arrived in Naples, greeted by a city desperate for a hero. Napoli had never won a league title, often overshadowed by Italy's northern giants, Juventus, AC Milan, and Inter. But with Maradona, they believed anything was possible. He didn't just join a club, he became the heartbeat of a city. Naples was one of the poorest regions in Italy, often mocked and looked down upon by the wealthy north. But in Maradona, the people saw hope. They saw one of their own. An underdog, a fighter, a rebel. And he would change their lives forever. June 1986. The FIFA World Cup in Mexico. Diego Maradona was at the height of his powers. From the very first match, it was clear. This was his tournament. Maradona was untouchable. His dribbling, his vision, his leadership. He dominated every match, but the world had yet to witness his defining moment. June 22nd, 1986. The quarterfinals. Argentina versus England, a game that meant more than just football. A game filled with political tension, national pride, and a moment that would live in infamy. The 51st minute. A long ball is miscleared by an English defender, looping into the air toward the penalty area. Peter Shilton, England's goalkeeper, rushes out to punch it. Maradona leaps, but something isn't right. And then, it happened. A cross floated into the box. Maradona, barely 5 feet 5 inches, jumped into the air as Peter Shilton stretched out his arm to punch the ball away. But in an instant, Maradona's left hand flicked the ball into the net. The referee didn't see it. The goal stood. England's players were furious, protesting in vain. The world watched in disbelief. And then, after the match, Maradona uttered the words that would define the moment forever. It was a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. A moment of genius? A moment of deceit? Perhaps both. But what came next would leave no doubts about Maradona's greatness. Just 4 minutes later, Maradona received the ball deep in his own half. He spun past one defender, then another, and another. The entire English defense collapsed around him, but they couldn't stop him. He accelerated, weaved past 5 players, as if they weren't there, skipped past the goalkeeper, and rolled the ball into the net. In just 10 seconds, he had taken 11 touches, covering 60 meters. It was the definition of footballing genius. BBC later called it the goal of the century. The world had never seen anything like it. In just 4 minutes, Maradona had shown both sides of his soul, the trickster and the magician, the sinner and the saint. Argentina rode Maradona's brilliance all the way to the final. But one final challenge remained. West Germany. A team built on efficiency, on power, on discipline. Argentina led 2-0, but the Germans fought back. 2-1, then 2-2. With minutes left, everything was slipping away. Then, Maradona delivered one last moment of magic. A single pass, a perfect pass, a pass that won the World Cup. Jorge Burruchaga finished the move, Argentina led 3-2, and the trophy was theirs. The final whistle blew. Maradona collapsed in tears. His teammates lifted him onto their shoulders, carrying him as he held the World Cup high. The boy from Villa Fiorito had conquered the world. Argentina were champions, and Diego Maradona had written his name in football history. When he returned home, he was no longer just a footballer. He was a god among men. Millions lined the streets to catch a glimpse of him. He had given Argentina a gift they would never forget. Maradona was awarded the Golden Ball for the best player of the tournament. There was no debate. This was his World Cup, his masterpiece. From the moment he stepped onto the pitch, Maradona transformed Napoli. In his first season, they climbed the Serie A table. In his second, they became contenders, and by 1987, they were ready to make history. That season, Maradona led Napoli on an unstoppable run. His vision, his dribbling, his leadership. He carried them on his back. And then, on May 10th, 1987, the unthinkable happened. Napoli had won their first ever Serie A title. Naples erupted. Millions poured into the streets. Fireworks lit up the sky. Murals of Maradona were painted overnight. Napoli became champions, and Maradona became a god. Said former teammate Ciro Ferrara, "You couldn't go anywhere without seeing his face, his name. He was everything to us." Tombstones were painted with the words, "You don't know what you missed." The people of Naples were telling their dead, "If you died before Maradona arrived, your life was incomplete." For the first time, Naples had defeated the North. They were champions, and their king stood at the center of it all. Napoli wasn't done. In 1989, Maradona led them to European glory, winning the UEFA Cup. He had taken a forgotten club and turned them into giants. But success had a price. The pressure was relentless. The expectations never ending. And Maradona's love affair with Naples was starting to crack. He had given them everything. And now they wanted more. At times it felt like I didn't belong to myself anymore, Maradona admitted. I was theirs. Off the pitch, things were spiraling out of control. Maradona was partying more, training less. Missing games, rumors swirled about his ties to the Camorra, the Neapolitan mafia. Drugs, late nights, deals in the shadows. The same city that worshipped him was now suffocating him. And Maradona, the man who once thrived under pressure, was starting to crumble. By 1990, Napoli had won their second league title. But something had changed. Maradona was tired. The joy was gone. The walls were closing in. And then, fate delivered the final blow. The 1990 World Cup. Argentina faced Italy in the semifinals. But the match wasn't in Rome. It wasn't in Milan. It was in Naples. The city that had loved Maradona unconditionally. The city that had made him their king. Before the game, Maradona made one final plea. For one night, forget about Italy. Cheer for me. Cheer for Argentina. But loyalty is a complicated thing. Some Neapolitans supported him. Others turned against him. Argentina won. And just like that, Maradona had defeated the country that had given him everything. From that moment, things were never the same. The love turned cold. The city that had once carried him on their shoulders now whispered behind his back. And Maradona, the god of Naples, was about to fall. Maradona had conquered football. He had lifted Napoli to greatness. He had ruled Argentina and stunned the world, but now the weight of it all was crushing him. The pressure, the expectations, the lifestyle, and soon his demons would consume him. The warning signs had been there for years. Missed training sessions, unexplained absences, the whispers of cocaine use growing louder. For years Maradona had hidden it. But in Naples, nothing stays hidden forever. His connections to the Camorra were undeniable. They protected him. They supplied him. And they controlled him. Everyone knew, said a former Napoli staff member. The club knew. The press knew. But nobody wanted to stop it. Because stopping Diego meant stopping Napoli's success. By 1991, the fairy tale was over. His relationship with Napoli was beyond repair. The fans, once obsessed with him, now demanded more than he gave. And then the inevitable happened. On March 17, 1991, Napoli faced Bari. After the match, Maradona was selected for a routine drug test. Days later, the results were made public. It was positive. FIFA's punishment was swift. A 15-month ban from football. His career shattered. His reputation destroyed. Napoli, the city that had once worshipped him, turned its back. He left Italy in disgrace. The King of Naples exiled from his own kingdom. After struggling for a year in Sevilla, he returned to Argentina. But he was no longer the same. His body was slower. His magic fading. And yet, football was all he had left. It was his addiction. Just like the drugs. And so, despite everything, he came back. One last time. 1994. The World Cup. The stage where he had once reached immortality, Maradona at 33 was no longer the unstoppable force of 1986. But Argentina still believed. They still needed their legend, and for one brief, glorious moment, he delivered. Against Greece, he scored a stunning goal. He ran to the cameras, screaming, his eyes wide, veins bulging, a moment of pure, unfiltered passion. A reminder of the Diego the world once knew, but it didn't last. 2 days later, FIFA made another announcement. Maradona had failed a drug test. This time, he was banned from the tournament, thrown out like a disgrace. They cut off my legs, he cried. They destroyed me. Argentina, without their leader, collapsed. Maradona had played his last World Cup match, and as he walked off the field, he knew. Maradona had lost everything. His career, his body, his place at football's table. But for Diego, there was no such thing as walking away. Not from the game that had given him everything. And so, even as his body betrayed him, even as his demons never left, he kept searching for a way back. In 2008, Argentina called him home. Not as a player, but as their national team coach. For the first time in years, Maradona was back where he belonged. On the touchline. In the heart of the game. Diego didn't teach us tactics, said Lionel Messi, but he made us believe. When he spoke, you felt invincible. Under Maradona, Argentina reached the 2010 World Cup, but reality was cruel. Against Germany, they suffered a brutal 4-0 defeat. The dream was over. His time as coach finished, but even in failure, Maradona never lost his love for the game. As the years passed, Diego's struggles grew heavier. His weight ballooned. His health declined. The drugs, the alcohol, the years of excess catching up. He was hospitalized multiple times. Heart problems. Liver issues. Emergency surgeries, but each time, he survived. Because Maradona always survived. I should be dead, he admitted. But God doesn't want me yet. Still, the world never forgot him. In Naples, in Buenos Aires, in the streets where children kicked footballs barefoot, his name remained sacred. He had been broken. He had been humiliated. But to those who loved him, he would always be a king. November 25th, 2020, the news broke. Diego Maradona was gone. A heart attack. 60 years old. Argentina stopped. 3 days of national mourning were declared. Millions filled the streets, crying, chanting his name, lighting candles. His funeral, watched by the entire world. In Naples, fans gathered outside the stadium that now bore his name. The Stadio Diego Armando Maradona. He gave us everything, said one tearful fan. He was flawed, but he was ours. He was more than a footballer. He was an idea. A symbol of hope, of defiance, of magic. And even in death, Maradona would never truly be gone, because every time a child picks up a football in Argentina, every time a fan wears the number 10, every time someone dares to believe in the impossible, Diego Maradona lives on. He was imperfect. He was controversial. But he was unforgettable. Diego Maradona wasn't just a footballer. He was a miracle. And miracles never die. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more amazing football stories. Let us know in the comments. What's your favorite Maradona moment? Turn on notifications so you never miss an upload, and if you want to see more football content, check out our other videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.